2,506 felons voted illegally in Georgia. 66,248 underage and therefore ineligible people to illegally register to vote before their 17th birthday, when the law requires 17 and a half years old. At least 2,423 individuals to vote who were not listed as registered. 1,043 individuals to cast ballots who had illegally registered to vote using a post office box. 4,926 individuals voted in Georgia who had registered to vote after their Georgia voter registration date, thereby canceling their Georgia voter registration. 10,315 or more individuals to vote who are deceased by the time of the election. 395 individuals to vote in Georgia who had cast ballots in another state, which is illegal in both states. 15,700 individuals to vote in Georgia who had filed a national change of address with the United States Postal Service prior to November 3rd, 2020. 40,279 individuals to vote who had moved across county lines at least 30 days prior to Election Day and who had failed to properly re-register to vote in their new county after moving, also in violation of Georgia law.
At about 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to roll this back and show it to you. There you go. So now they're going to start pulling these ballots out from under this table. This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out. So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses? Is the question. So these machines can process about 3,000 ballots an hour. You have multiple machines there, and they're there for 2 hours. So you do the math. How many ballots went through those machines in those 2 hours when there was no one there to supervise, to be present, consistent with your statutes and rules, to supervise the tabulation? We believe that could easily be, and probably is certainly, beyond the margin of victory in this race.
Mr. Sterling, thank you very much for being here. What are they doing? What are Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell doing?
Who the heck knows? I mean, it's Looney Tunes.
It's also, this is probably the most fraudulent election that anyone's ever seen.
Do you still have confidence in Bill Barr?
Ask me that in a number of weeks from now. They should be looking at all of this fraud. This is not civil. He thought it was civil. This is not civil. This is criminal stuff. This is very bad criminal stuff. So I just say this. We went through an election. At 10 o'clock, everybody said that was an easy victory for Trump. All of a sudden, the votes started disappearing, miraculously disappearing.
No, Mr. President, we don't need to wait a couple of weeks on Bill Barr. We already know what the answer is. Live from Capitol Hill, you're in the war room. It's Thursday, the 3rd number of our Lord, 2020, now with over 22 million downloads on our podcast, and of course, live in the John Fredericks Radio Network. Also on the streaming service of the Trump Revolution, Real America's Voice, now Dish Channel 219 and Comcast Channel 113, Newsmax TV, and of course on G News and GTV. There's so much to get to. We want to give you a complete review of the battlefield, including explosive revelations that are happening today. Big news out of Wisconsin, bigger news out of Georgia, big news out of Nevada, other news out of Arizona. And if you notice something, ladies and gentlemen, what's very clear, every time these people talk about, oh, this is baseless, there's nothing to see here, they never talk about the specifics. Well, today, and you saw that opening mantra in Georgia, was absolutely stunning. I want to bring in now Boris Epshteyn from the campaign. Later in the show, we're going to have Congressman Mo Brooks about how Mo Brooks and people in Congress are going to fight this all the way down to the bitter end and never let it go. Also, we're going to have John Fredericks. He's in the room down in Georgia, but I want to start with Boris Epshteyn. Boris, I want to go through the whole battlefield, but I want to start in Georgia. I don't think people were expecting Rudy and Bernie Carrick and Jenna Ellis and the team to have kind of this explosive testimony they had today. Can you walk us through what went on down there?
Absolutely huge, Steve. Good to be with you as always. Absolutely huge news down there. That video, that's receipts right there. That video of boxes and suitcases of ballots being pulled out from under some shady table after people were told to go home. That counting was done, and there's at least, as you heard the woman say in the video, 4 boxes of ballots being pulled out, and that is absolutely earth-shattering as how important that is. And is another underscoring of the terrible election irregularities, election fraud that have been going on across the country and in Georgia specifically. And if anybody needs any other reason to do a real recount in Georgia with signature matching, that is ludicrous. That is all the reason we need. And now it is incumbent upon the governor of Georgia, the Secretary of State of Georgia, and the Georgia legislature to mandate that a true recount is done that includes signature matching in Georgia.
I want to go back to the very first part of the tape that we played. You had the individual up there, and they're walking through, underage voting, illegal alien voting, people that don't live in the state. These are thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of votes. The margin is 12,000 votes in Georgia. This is what I don't understand. What is holding back the Secretary of State and the governor from at least just calling the legislature back to have a special session and to start to go through this in detail?
It's unfathomable. It is unfathomable that the officials in Georgia do not want to get to the true bottom of the issue. Do not want to get to the true number of legal votes cast for President Trump and Vice President Joe Biden. And you know what? If I were Joe Biden and his team, I would call for that as well. Just if he did win this thing somehow, which, if you believe that Joe Biden got 80 million votes and more votes than Barack Obama, then God bless you and give me a call because I've got 6 bridges to sell you up and down Manhattan, okay? But if somehow that happened, wouldn't Joe Biden want some legitimacy? And after this information comes out, say, you know what, let's have it in Georgia. But of course they're not going to do that because Democrats aren't honest. Democrats don't care about an honest win. All they want to do is get into power, and they want to flip all the wins, all the policy achievements of President Trump, and they don't care at all about how they do that. But Georgia is now, again, at the very, very center of this debate. And the debate is between an illegitimate election where illegal votes and illegal votes are counted, and a legitimate election that is decided by legal votes. So again, I urge the officials in Georgia, the legislators in Georgia, and the people of Georgia to do all they can to get an honest recount done in the state of Georgia.
Don't the Republican establishment understand, and Newt Gingrich and everybody, that this is a wound that's never going to heal? Right now, the people that work so hard for Trump and those people that came out in the small towns and villages for President Trump, it's 12,000 votes. And they see that there's tens of thousands of illegal votes. Unless those are properly accounted for, this will never go away. And I don't know why they're focused on this Senate race. Yes, we have to hold the Senate. But until you get in back of what that gentleman at the beginning walks through, all those issues, until we get to the bottom of that, people don't want to think about the Senate race because the same exact thing is going to happen again. What Boris, what don't they get about this?
Well, Steve, that's the key. What you said there at the end is the key. We can't look at this as a microcosm. We've got to look at the macro picture. And here's the macro picture. If we do the Republican usual thing of allowing Democrats to steal elections, then they're going to, guess what? They're going to keep stealing elections, right? Democrats are like that bully in the lunchroom. If you let the bully take your lunch, the bully's going to keep taking your lunch. But if you stand up to the bully and you push the bully away and you keep your lunch, and I'm going to keep this PG-13 here, okay? I'm not going to say every word that's coming to my mind. If you keep your lunch, then the bully's going to go away. Well, the Democrats are the bully, and they're trying to steal election after election after election. And if you think that, oh, let's just do the age-old thing and focus on these Senate elections and try to do them fair and square, Stacey Abrams is not playing fair and square. She still hasn't conceded her loss in 2018. I'm going to have great grandkids before she concedes.
Tough,
okay?
Tough
what
hombre.
are we talking about here?
Tough hombre.
What are we talking about here?
So
this is the truth.
So
the truth is, listen, absolutely we got to hold the Senate. But we're going to hold the Senate. We're going to win the Senate. We're going to win the presidency now and into the future by having real elections in this country.
With the revelations that came out today and the showing of the receipts, what's the next step? You got Rudy, Jenna Ellis, Carrick down there. I take it they're going to be coming back to Washington. The president's heading down to Washington or heading down to Georgia for some sort of rally on Saturday. Given that we had this explosive testimony today, what people want to know is, okay, what next? I see lawsuits being filed down in Georgia. You got Cleta Mitchell. You've got Lynn Wood. You've got Sidney Powell. You've got also addition besides Cleta, who's one of the best lawyers around, to get the rest of the president's team. Given this evidence today, where are we?
Well, I've said this on the show in the past. I'll say it again. Don't want to get ahead of the president or any action, but rest assured, and the viewers and the listeners, be confident that every single action is going to be taken and every single step possible is going to be taken to ensure that the legal votes and legal votes only are counted in Georgia, and more information is going to be coming out. You're absolutely confident in that.
Okay, real quickly, we got to take a break, but I just want to tee up a big announcement from the Supreme Court of Wisconsin. And of course, the mainstream media made it like a defeat. But when you read it, it's actually the first time a court has said, hey, this is real evidence and this is powerful. And what happened here was wrong. And something's got to be done about it. Tee us up in about 30 seconds of what went on at the Supreme Court of Wisconsin Day. And then we'll finish it after the break.
Well, while you've got 25-year-old members of the media acting like they're Clarence Darrow, the reality of it is that in Wisconsin, the Supreme Court said that the case filed, which is concentrated on the 220,000 and more votes that were invalid in Wisconsin, that the case has a lot of validity and it has to start at the lower courts in Wisconsin. And specifically, the chief judge of the court said that we are not ruling on the merits. We're only saying that you've got to go and you've got to start at the lower courts and work your way back up to the Supreme Court if necessary. And they were absolutely positive about our content.
Boris, hang on here for a second on Wisconsin. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with Boris Epshteyn, one of the lawyers with Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani on the president's campaign. We'll be back in 1 second.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
We're here with Boris Epshteyn from the campaign, and he brought up a very good point in the last segment. Joe Biden's never going to be considered legitimate or legal until they roll their sleeves up and assist the Trump campaign, the Republican Party, and state officials to get to the bottom of this. This is absolutely outrageous. So it's got a little feedback there. We're going to take care of it in a second. I want to bring Boris back in Wisconsin, Boris, and this is what I don't get about Attorney General Barr. You have these justices on the state Supreme Court to sit there and go, okay, you got to go back to the district court, work your way back up, do it as quickly as possible. But there's a lot of substance here. There's a lot of substance, particularly when you look at the issue of Wisconsin law and about changing absentee ballots, about the indefinitely confined ballots. Over 221,000 illegal ballots in Wisconsin where the president lost by 20,000 votes. What say you?
What I say is that the law of Wisconsin is clear. If there's not an application on file to vote absentee or mail, and you vote absentee or mail, your vote cannot count. So I'm not sure what the Democrats are going to do here because they don't have a lot of outs. Now, I hope the courts don't give them some sort of outs. Well, it's the law is clear, but it's not clear. As long as the courts follow Wisconsin law, which is you have to have an application. If you're indefinitely confined, you actually have to be indefinitely confined. And clerks cannot cure ballots, as well as these other polling places are not allowed to be set up. As long as all that happens, as long as the courts follow the law of Wisconsin, there's absolutely no way that Joe Biden wins the state of Wisconsin. No way. Because the difference right now is about, 20,000 in Wisconsin? And you're looking at 221,000 votes, a little above that actually, in Milwaukee and Dane County, which is where Madison, Wisconsin is. You're looking at 70-30, maybe 80-20 Biden-Trump County. So the Democrats have a big problem with Wisconsin. Wisconsin needs to be a place where there's a lot of attention paid, and a lot of attention paid to how the courts of Wisconsin treat Wisconsin law and the Wisconsin Constitution. As long as they're honest, Wisconsin should be a win for President Trump.
So I think you've got two right in the gun sights here, Georgia and Wisconsin. The third we've already talked about is Arizona. However, our colleague Raheem Kassam just wrote an article at the National Pulse, where he's the editor-in-chief, and the president just tweeted it out about, this hearing that's going on in Nevada today. Can you get us up to speed on that, Boris?
Absolutely. Nevada is an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster. What's going on there? You've got apparently you have witness obstructions in terms of USPS. You've got the machines that are there, and the inspections are wrongful. And then you've got the deceased voters, the dead voters in Nevada, as well as the same issue that we heard about from Georgia, people who are not Nevada residents voting in Nevada. Nevada is a cesspool of election irregularity, a cesspool of election irregularity. And we've known that. There was a vital hearing today. There's an inspection of a machine of the machines that should be going on. So Nevada, good work done down there by Adam Laxalt, Matt Schlapp, and others. Nevada is a place to absolutely concentrate on. So is Arizona, something that you mentioned. Arizona, there's action going on actually as we speak in Arizona, a hearing about an inspection of duplicate ballots, which are reconstructed or fixed ballots, as we call them, in Arizona, and the fact that yes, ballots have been flipped from President Trump to Joe Biden, and now it's a question of a need to inspect all of those duplicate ballots in Arizona, all the electronically adjudicated ballots, and from what I understand, just electronically adjudicated ballots in Arizona, which means ballots that may have had something wrong with them and then went and were reviewed by some machine somewhere, maybe with the inspectors present, maybe not, is at least 200,000. Keep in mind, the difference in Arizona is about 10,300. There's about 200,000 ballots that may have had issues with them. And then the duplicates in Maricopa alone, there's 30,000. So as you look at the broad picture here, Steve, the broad picture is that what's being uncovered is the rot of the electoral system. I actually saw an interesting study done by University of Ohio Law School before this election that said in almost every election of the 21st century, you see a significant post-election day bump for Democrats after there's supposedly 100% of precincts already reporting. Where do those votes come from? Come on, let's not kid each other. You saw what's happening in Georgia. We know what's happening across the country. We know what happened in 1960 in Chicago and Texas. People cannot put their head in the sand and pretend that American history, American reality doesn't exist. And American reality is that Democrats cheat in elections. The difference now, the reason that most of the mainstream media, that the Democrats and pathetic rhinos like Representative Kinzinger from Illinois are fighting against it is because they like the status quo. They like it. They don't care. Well, what does it matter? Another election lost. You know, if you've got a cushy seat in a district in Illinois for which you won, you know, maybe 100,000 votes or a little more than that, well, what do you care? It doesn't matter to you. But we're talking about the future of America. We're talking about the presidency. So for people like Adam Kinzinger to pretend like it doesn't matter is extremely, extremely disappointing and wrongful for a Republican.
What's stunning is that Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, and Arizona, these all have such substantial amounts of illegal activity that all four of these could be easily flipped. And it's just for the president to stick on it. Michigan and Pennsylvania, a little more difficult because you've got various lawsuits going on there. I know that Dave Kallman from Great Lakes Legal Foundation is actually in district court even as we speak, arguing his case about they want an audit of Wayne County because he says there's 135,000 ballots there that ought to be thrown out. So there are fights going all over the place. Can you summarize where you think we stand in Michigan and Pennsylvania with the different lawsuits?
Absolutely. I think Pennsylvania is ripe to be looked at by the Supreme Court. And there's one case there already, the Congressman Mike Kelly, Sean Parnell case that is up for cert. And as you know, to get rid of certiorari in the Supreme Court, you only need 4 votes. That's not an issue of anything like that. So that case, which centers on the fact that the whole Pennsylvania scheme, the universal mail-in ballot scheme of Pennsylvania, is unconstitutional under Pennsylvania's own constitution. So that is up for Supreme Court review. There's other cases that may be as well in the future. And Michigan, as you said, we know what happened in Wayne County. 71% of absentee precincts in Wayne County are unbalanced, which means people who signed in to vote and people who actually voted is not the same number. Well, how can that possibly happen? We saw in the hearing yesterday of Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis so much witness testimony, so much evidence, so many receipts, again, of actual election irregularities. Those have to be called to account. And again, I fail to understand how somebody, and I hate to bring this up again, but somebody like Adam Kinzinger, who got 217 about 1,000 votes in his 16th congressional district in Illinois, how he could, as a Republican, say, well, we need to leave this alone. It goes to tell the president of the United States, who's got 90 million followers or thereabout, to quote unquote delete his account. That is absolutely ludicrous. We as Republicans, we need to stand up and we need to stand strong for the president, but even more importantly, for the presidency, Steve, for the fact that this country cannot be allowed to be stolen by these Democrat election fraudsters.
Boris, the president gave a 46-minute, it was pretty stunning. I don't know how many CEOs or chairmen of the boards, guys in their 70s, can stand up and give a 46-minute presentation. This is like a TED Talk times 2, with graphs, with charts, and walk you through high-level mathematics, walk you through it. Of course, the media does not go and try to discuss any one substantive comment. They don't take any of the evidence and try to refute it. They just say he's crazy or mad. Obviously, he's getting more and more dug in every day. We are burning daylight here. What's going to happen on Saturday? Because Saturday is a little bit of, and we got about a minute and a half here. Saturday is a rally for the 2 Senate candidates, but we got a long way to go here on closing the deal on his victory. I mean, if you look at this mantra at the beginning of our cold open and add those up against the 12,000 votes that he's down right now, Trump wins Georgia handily.
Well, what I expect is for the president to go into Georgia and to say loudly, defiantly, and unquestionably that we need a real result in the state of Georgia in the election of November 3rd. Absolutely, the Senate elections matter. But the way we continue to win elections as Republicans is by having honest elections. And by drawing a line in the sand and saying no more to that lunchroom bully of Democrat election stealing that I talked about in the first segment. That is how we will continue to win. And the president is obviously of that mind. You heard that from his address yesterday. As you said, 46 minutes, historic. And he said at the outset, probably the most important speech he's ever made, because it is a speech about integrity, fairness, and legality of elections in our country, in our system. So I think you're going to hear a lot more of that in Georgia on Saturday.
Boris, how do people get to you on Instagram and also Parler and Twitter?
See, I like that you're leading with the gram. That's not, now we know we're having a good time.
I'm well trained. We have some
Instagram, Boris_Epshteyn, Boris_EPSHTEYN. That's Instagram. Twitter @BorisEP. Parler, the one and only @Boris. Keep on fighting, rock and roll.
Boris Epshteyn from the campaign's legal staff, one of Rudy's go-to guys. Okay, we're going to take a short commercial break. When we come back, Alabama's 5th District, Congressman Mo Brooks, a fighter, on next.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Live from the nation's capital, you're in the War Room. It's Thursday, the 3rd of December, year of our Lord 2020. We're trying to connect with Mo Brooks, and the reason we want to connect with the congressman is he's laid out, as Matt Gaetz talked about in this show, I think 3 weeks ago, that there are also additional alternatives that certain members of Congress are thinking of to continue this fight into January in Congress, in the House of Representatives and the Senate, if they don't get full satisfaction at the state legislature level that this election is being handled fairly and honestly. I think there's outrage, and I think there's more outrage every day. The reason that we've really turned this show over from doing as much work as we did on the pandemic and then on the election is to really focus on about the legality of what's going on here. As we said, not only is it the most important election probably in the history of the country, it's the most important election in the 5,000 years of China. This campaign, this election has so many implications at so many different levels, and we're just not going to roll over here, particularly when you see what went on in Georgia today. As soon as you're there able to make a presentation and get the facts out, show the receipts, the Democrats have nothing to say. We're going to have John Fredericks on momentarily after Congressman Brooks. We're going to be talking about what went on down in Georgia today. I think people were shocked. Rudy and the team made another great presentation, as they made in Michigan last night. The state legislatures there, which a couple of them were trying to be cute, and I thought were blown away by the witnesses. These are facts. Number one, you've obviously got the statistics and the mathematics about the spikes and all that, but now you're starting to get the detail of actually how the steal took place. So whether it's in Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, or Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, there is absolutely zero chance that Biden could ever be considered a legal or a legitimate president. This is why you see no heat whatsoever on his administration right now. This phony faux administration, absolutely no heat. Normally when you have an administration, particularly among Democrats, you have 20 profiles in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal of all the Wall Street guys and all the corporate guys that want to come in the administration and want to jump in here. Okay, we're now hooked up with Congressman Mo Brooks from Alabama's 5th District. Congressman Brooks, thank you so much for taking time to join us in the War Room today.
My pleasure, Steve. I apologize for being a little bit tardy. I was on the phone with another person and just got off, immediately called you.
Thank you, sir. Congressman, you're one of our heroes because you're one of the original, if not the original, populist in Congress. And you're known, when I think of Mo Brooks, I think of a fighter. And what I've loved what you said the last couple of days saying, hey, I'm looking around the country and what I see is an unfair election. And we're just not going to let this go because electors go to the state houses. If need be, if I'm not satisfied that this thing was done legally and that these are legal votes, I will take action. My constitutional duty is to take action when actually the electors get there in January. Walk our audience through what the facts that have driven you to this, and then what is your constitutional duty in January?
Well, very briefly on the law, a lot of people don't understand this. They think that election contests for federal offices are adjudicated by federal judges of the Supreme Court. That is categorically false. While the federal judiciary does have a role, under the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 4 and 5, and Article 2 in the 12th Amendment, the United States Congress hears and rules on, with finality, all election contests involving congressmen, senators, and the President of the United States. So that being the case, on January the 6th at 1 p.m., the states are going to submit to the United States Congress in a joint session presided over by Vice President Mike Pence their purported winners of their electoral college votes, at which point in time, if a congressman and a senator jointly object to a state submission, then that triggers as much as a 2-hour debate in the House and a 2-hour debate in the Senate, and we then, as bodies, separate bodies, vote to accept or reject that state's electoral college submission. And quite frankly, I'm going to object to Pennsylvania on the House side. I'm going to object to Georgia on the House side. I'm probably going to object to some others because I am persuaded that their election systems are so badly flawed that the person who got a majority of the lawful votes cast by eligible American citizens did not get those electoral college votes that they should have gotten, that the election theft, the voter fraud was that bad. And I'm not focusing on what is all that's going on in these courts with a little bit of fraud there, a little bit of fraud here kind of stuff, or a mistake here or there, computer glitches, whatever. I'm talking about systemic problems, flaws with the American election system that have allowed the Socialist Democrats to steal, in my judgment, millions upon millions of votes by counting illegal ballots. And I can go into the details as to how that transpired and what I'm talking about if you wish, but I'm persuaded that if you count only lawful votes cast by eligible American voters and you count nothing else, that Donald Trump easily won the Electoral College. And that's how I'm going to conduct myself on January 6th with these Electoral College submissions by the states.
Congressman Brooks, I've known you for a long time. You're not someone that goes off half-cocked. What has brought you to this point? Well, by way of background, I have a little bit of self-interest. I was the target of election theft once in my first election in 1982 at a time when the state legislature of Alabama was 136 Democrats to 4 Republicans, and I was trying to breach the dam in the northern third of the state of Alabama. And so the Democrats, to prevent me from winning, they rigged 25% of the voting machines to register the votes for every candidate on the ballot. That's 25 others, but Mo Brooks, 11 out of 45 machines. It was so bad that at one voting location, a good one for me, by the way, none of the voting machines would register my votes when you tried to vote for me. So the poll workers there publicly announced, if you want to vote for Mo Brooks, go sign that sheet of paper on the wall. Now, you lost your secret ballot right, but those who are willing to lose that secret ballot right at least had the opportunity to vote for me if they heard the poll workers announce that when it was announced. And so that's a little bit of a personal issue with me because I've been the target before. I know what it's like, and it's not right. And that really blew away my confidence in our election system when I saw how easy it is to rig voting machines and steal elections. So with that as a backdrop, the Democrats have systemically been attacking our election system and rendering it much more inaccurate than it used to be. And I'll give you one example that I talked about today in a speech on the House floor. The 1993 National Voter Registration Act was rammed through the United States Congress when the Democrats had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. And the Democrats were pretty clever. They put a provision in there that made it illegal, mind you, illegal, for our voter registrars around the United States of America to require proof of citizenship when an illegal alien or a non-citizen came in to register to vote. You would think that the Democrats would want American citizens to be able to vote and that they would not want illegal aliens or non-citizens to diminish the vote of American citizens. But that's the exact opposite of what the Democrats did. So that set the foundation. Then the Democrats have worked hard and allow into the United States anywhere from 11 million, if you believe the 2010 census, to 22 million, if you believe a recent study by Yale University, illegal aliens. That's a huge potential voter pool. And then you add to it Joe Biden's brazen solicitation
of illegal aliens to vote for him. Now, when did he do it? He did it on national television in the October 22nd televised debate, in which he proclaimed that, hey, if Joe Biden is president of the United States in the first 100 days, I'm going to give amnesty and citizenship to over 11 million illegal aliens. So, in effect, Joe Biden was using that kind of platform to induce illegal aliens to register to vote in greater numbers than they already have, and, of course, to vote for Joe Biden, because then they will have amnesty and citizenship. That is egregious. It ought to be criminal if it's not criminal, because it's certainly the solicitation of election fraud. And when I put all those pieces together, I thought, we've got at least hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens that likely voted based on all these things, and maybe millions. Well, that influences Arizona, that influences Georgia, that may influence Pennsylvania, although Pennsylvania has other issues with their vote. And then I look further into our election system and some of the other systemic flaws that the Democrats are exploiting, and that persuaded me that they have very aggressively fought to steal this election from the will of American citizens. And keep in mind, the socialists have a track record. They're not at all hesitant to engage in egregious activities to impose their social dictate on the rest of the population. If you look at Nazi Germany, socialist, Soviet Union, socialist, Communist China, socialist, they actually exterminated tens of millions of their countrymen and others who believed in freedom in order to eliminate that threat to the consolidation of their political power. If socialists are willing to do that over history in these other nations, and not just those three, but others around the globe, then certainly they're willing to commit the lesser crimes of voter fraud and election theft, and that is exactly what has happened in my judgment.
Congressman Brooks, I know you have to go. One last question. Are there other congressmen coming and rallying to your side on this, and anybody from the Senate? Can we anticipate this is actually going to happen? Because I think it's absolutely necessary. It has to happen if we don't reverse this by the 14th.
I have not asked any senator or congressman to join me in this endeavor. However, a number of congressmen have come forth on their own volition once they've learned, a lot of us didn't know this, that it's the United States Congress that determines the outcome of the presidential election. Again, not federal courts, not the Supreme Court. We do under the United States Constitution. And with that as a backdrop, as they learn more and more about the election theft and the voter fraud, not just the little things that you're reading about in these various courtrooms around the country, but the systemic voter fraud and election theft, they are coming on board, and there are probably double figures right now of congressmen who want to assist. Not solicited the support of any senator, but I hope at some point in time the American people will demand of our Republican senators that they protect our right to vote, and they try to do everything they can to make sure that this kind of election theft never occurs in the future. And one way to do that is to reject the submission of electoral college votes from states that have proven that their election systems are corrupt and untrustworthy and should be rejected.
Congressman Brooks, do you have a Twitter handle or any way people can get to you during the day and follow you?
My staff knows all that stuff.
We'll get it. We'll put it up, Congressman.
You can contact my office.
No, we'll get it up.
You can contact my office in Washington, D.C. Just call them up.
Congressman Brooks, you are old school. Thank you so much for joining us on the War Room.
Thank you, Steve, for everything you're doing.
Thanks, brother. Congressman Mo Brooks from Alabama's 5th. That is a fighter right there. And he's telling you that regardless of what happens on the 14th, there's going to be a fight in Congress. And the reason is that Congress finally is the one that adjudicates this. So this is going to be, for Biden and these people trying to steal it, there's nothing but tough sledding every day, as it should be. Okay, we're going to return in a second. We're going to go to Georgia. In the room is John Fredericks. It's been an explosive testimony today. I don't think anybody's prepared for what went down in Georgia today. But nothing but the showing of receipts, videos, and eyewitness testimony. We're going to return in a second with John Fredericks live from Georgia.
Taking down the CCP.
Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to the Fight Club. Remember, the first rule of the Fight Club is that we only engage in fights that matter, and one that matters is down in Georgia. I want to go live now to John Fredericks, our broadcast partner, who happens to be live at the location where the hearing was today. John, can you tell us what it was like?
Steve, I tell you what, I've been at the Capitol all day for this hearing, which is kind of a rogue hearing put on by the subcommittee of the Georgia Oversight Committee. The chairman of the Judiciary Committee wouldn't have a hearing, so several senators got together, did one on their own. Mayor Giuliani came, head of President Trump's legal team. Here's the bombshells that went down today, Steve, and they're big. Once this gets out, the fake news is not going to be able to continue to hide the level of fraud that's going on. Here's the number one story that came out. The Trump team today produced a video footage in Atlanta, in Fulton County. This is the location at the State Farm Arena where they shut down the doors and the counting. They threw everybody out and said, we're going to pick it up again tomorrow. They threw them out. They put plywood and curtains over the windows. They shut out the lights. 2 workers there then stayed for a half hour, feigning, doing natural cleanup work. When 30 minutes was over, this is all on camera. They went into another room that was under lock and key. They went under a table, a desk, and they pulled out 4 boxes stuffed with ballots. They started feeding those ballots into the machines in the middle of the night. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody could match them. Nobody knows how it happened. Nobody was there watching it. This is all caught on video. Basically, Steve, the gig is up now. This whole thing that the Democrats are doing is going to collapse like a house of cards. Now, momentarily, we've got another witness who's going to be testifying today who got a hold of a machine in an obscure county in southeast Georgia, Ware County. Gentleman's name is Garland Favorito. He's about to testify. I was able to read his testimony earlier. He's on in about a half hour. You'll be able to see him. He's got a Dominion machine that they were able to do a forensic study on in Ware County. It's a small county. He's got evidence that this machine, Steve, has flipped the votes. They flipped votes. They flipped 37 votes in Ware County. He's got the evidence from Donald J. Trump to Joe Biden. Now, 37 doesn't seem like a lot of votes, but it's a very small county. It represents just over 0.25, actually 0.26 of the total votes cast. But what it shows, 0.26 is what Biden won by.
Exactly. This is my point. Is that it shows you it can be. It shows you it can be done, and that they do it. That's the importance of this testimony.
Yes. It was done. He's going to tell it. They have the evidence. And of course, the argument is going to be, okay, if you do it in Ware County, you can do it in Augusta County, you can do it in Fulton County, you can do it in Cherokee County or Cobb County. You can do it anywhere. You can do it in Maricopa County in Arizona. You can do it in Detroit. This is Steve, I'm telling you, the dam is breaking. The Democrats don't know what to do. One Democratic senator, Democratic nice young lady, when the video's over, she has a chance to ask a question, and she says, we've already debunked this. This has already been debunked. And Mayor Giuliani said, excuse me, the video was made available yesterday at 11 p.m. It's now noon. That's 13 hours. There's no way you debunk this. But see, that's their talking points. They're reading it off a chart from the DNC. That's all they have.
John, you've been down there closer than anybody. You're taking a 10-day, 10-city tour, bus tour down there, heavy in Trump country. There's this very controversial rally that's coming up this Saturday. You don't hear the senatorial candidates saying anything. You've got explosive testimony today. The Trump base is only going to dig in harder after they hear this today, that Governor Kemp has to call a special session. This is hurtling towards some sort of confrontation between the Trump movement and the establishment Republicans. When is that going to take place?
It's going to take place within the next 2 days because, look, Steve, I'm going around the state. I've told you this. I've got 100 callers calling in from Georgia to my show, blasting state senators that are Republicans that refuse to do anything. I was told by Senator Gooch and Senator Beach that at the end of this hearing today that they are going to demand that Governor Brian Kemp call a special session. They're going to do a press conference based on the evidence. They want a special session. Brian Kemp is going to have to call this. They want to change the way January 5th is going. If they don't do that, I'm telling you, Senator Loeffler and Senator Perdue are not going to be successful on January 5th because Trump voters have already said, if you won't fight for me, if you won't fight for my vote, if you won't stand up for me, and I'm going to get cheated again, why should I go out and back you? Senator Perdue and Senator Loeffler has been silent. They've said nothing. And in a response to what is happening with Trump voters who are demanding action, that's all they want, action, they're getting hit pieces from your former company, Breitbart. Shameful what they did, Steve. Shameful. They're getting hit pieces now from Newt Gingrich, who thinks he can send out a text and everybody just obeys. They don't get it, Steve. Those days are over. The Trump voter is now angry. They understand this election was stolen from them. They want action, and all the text that Newt Gingrich says is not going to matter. His time has passed. It's all passed them by. And the problem is, Steve, the elected officials in Georgia don't get it. That's the problem. Hopefully after today they will.
And the more situations have like this, that evidence comes out, it's only going to get worse. John, what is your Twitter handle? How do people get access to you and the show?
Well, you want to follow me on Twitter at JF Radio Show. But the most important thing, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, put in John Fredericks Show. All of our videos are up there. Tomorrow I'll be in South Georgia. I'll be in McDonough, Georgia, Locust Grove. You want to follow me there, go to our YouTube channel, download our free app. Just put in John Fredericks Show. You're good to go.
Okay. Thank you, John. We'll see you tomorrow. John Fredericks live in Georgia at the hearing. We will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Explosive revelations on the fight to secure President Donald J. Trump's victory on the 3rd of November. Until tomorrow morning at 10, this is The War Room.